My name is Anton, and I am here to give you a quick introduction to the project management for the game makers. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. This is me. That's my name. I've been a project manager for about 15-ish years. And just like all of you, I'm a mature board game maker. Maybe some of you are professionals, but I'm still amateur. I haven't published a game or let the one in the wild. Usually we make a game in our family and play with our friends. I'm a passionate board game collector as well. And my wife and I, we also run a farm down in Alberta. And that's where we are from. We are in Canada, Alberta. So we came here to warm up. So, what is project management? This is an official definition from PMBOK 7 edition, which is PMBOK. It's a project management book of knowledge, or a Bible, how we like to talk in project managers. And it says it's application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. Now, the next thing is, what is a project? Project is a temporary endeavor. So it's something that has beginning and end. And every project goes through these life cycles. First, you have initiation, which is, in our case, ideas. You come up with an idea, you want to make it reality, that's your project, because at the end of it is your board game or your game or whatever you are creating. Then, planning. That's where project managers shine. This is where you take your idea and plan it how to make it a reality. This is your entire process without actually doing a thing other than thinking and putting down on paper. Then, of course, you need to make things a reality. You take your plan, you follow the steps, everything is perfect. We live in an absolutely perfect world. And you're doing all the steps. Then you go through monitoring, controlling. This is your play testing. This is when you get to inspect all of your manufacturers and look for defects in every single meeple that you ask them to produce. And in the end, closing out. So closing is basically sometimes a sigh of relief, where it's, oh my goodness, it's finally done and I'm not going to look at it anymore. Or it should be a celebration when you actually have the game, you can play it with your friends and family, and others can play the game just the way how you intended. Now, that was official definition. This is my definition for project management. It's the art of getting it done. And that's our dog and at our farm. She is our project manager, making sure that we are doing the right work just the way how she wants it to be done. Her name is Chunky. So, the goal of project manager is to make sure that the project goes ahead no matter what. Like, despite anything that's happening in the world, the project goes to completion. So if I have done my job right, even if I disappear, somebody can take out my notes and go, okay, this is the steps that I need to take to finish the project. And that's basically what it is. These are some benefits of the project management that you can learn being a project manager. You learn how to deal with people, from the most pleasant ones that you just don't want to let go, to the one that you would let go in the blink of an eye, but they're just still present in your life. You get to know how to organize your schedule, how to keep to that schedule, how to keep others to that schedule. You get to learn how to deal with costs, how to price things out, and how to make sure you don't go overboard, because we all like shopping, or at least a lot of people do. You learn how to deal with risks, how to identify risks, how to manage them, and how to maybe transfer them to somebody else. You learn how to do quality control, because this is an entire piece of its own as well. And of course, you learn how to communicate with people, which is an incredibly important part of doing anything. And you learn how to go shopping. Procurement is basically the fancy word for shopping. And the last piece is you learn how to create all of these components together, that it works seamlessly and flows very nicely. Now, Every single one of these things is a knowledge area of its own. I can spend days just going through every single one of these components, and of course we won't have time to go through all of it in an hour that I have here with you today. Now, throughout the presentation, I will throw in some of the knowledge nuggets. And these are the things that I hope you'll take out with you and use it in your game development, your project management, and of course, in your everyday life. So for me to be an effective project manager and to make sure that if I disappear and a project still goes ahead, you gotta write everything down. And I mean everything down. And of course, everybody has an idea on how everything down. I'm gonna teach you how to write everything down as well, or give you at least some pointers. First, you gotta put a date on it. That's the first thing that you do. No matter how fleeting the idea is, you gotta put a date on it, because a well-dated note will save you so much headache. If there is any disputes for your trademarks, for wherever it is, you can say, I have this idea, and it was written down in 1988 when I was 12 years old. It's still mine. Next, you gotta label it. Again, it's a housekeeping things. You wrote the idea down. Now, where does this idea go? Is it for the game? Is it for the mechanics? Is it for character creation? Is it, I don't know, maybe you're creating a bag for the game carrying for something. But write your idea and label it. Label it in such a way that it's vague enough for you to find it and throw a whole bunch of ideas in there. Don't be too specific. Otherwise, your labeling system will go out of whack. Next thing, you labeled it, you wrote it down, you dated it. Please store it somewhere you can find. Otherwise, trying to find something and not knowing where it is, it's ridiculously frustrating. And most of all, make it legible. There's been a number of times when I wrote something down and the very next day I could not understand or reason or, ooh, let's go for free service. Come on. Yeah. And
I think you just have to accept at the bottom.
We're back. Yeah, make it legible. Legibility is a key. If you're handwriting it, practice your handwriting. Maybe it's going to be one of your hobbies. Calligraphy is fantastic art form. If you do it digital, don't use too many, contraptions, because just reading like three-word letters every single time gets old, and nobody but you can understand it. So you wrote it down. Now the project management component starts. And project management is a balancing act. You go through your time. You need to budget your time. You need to budget the budget. You need to balance your quality. And the most important one that people forget to tell you is the stakeholders. You got to manage your stakeholders. And stakeholders, again, it's a fancy word for people. So people play incredibly important role in everything that we do. They are our playtesters. They are our final clients. Who is going to play the game? Hopefully people. Maybe you're making a game for a dog. Wonderful. So treat your dog as a stakeholder. So game development, same balancing act. You still balance your time, which is the most valuable resource. We all have a budget, how much money we can spend. We still need to go for quality. And fun, in my opinion, is a big quality component of the game. How to make it fun or how to make it challenging. It's all part of the quality. And of course, people, right? You want to manage the people who work, who help you out, and your final clients. So, but it all starts with idea, right? We all have an idea sometimes. Sometimes it comes at the most unfortunate times in the morning. I have woken up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, wrote idea down, and the next 5 hours I was researching statistics and figuring how many card combinations I can have in a deck of cards while I still have, standard deck of cards without it being like 2,000 card pieces just to make it appropriate. So you have your idea. What do you need to do? Write it down. Date it, label it, file it, maybe keep a notebook or filing system in your digital device. And again, this is the next thing. This is the next, your knowledge nugget. Once you have this idea and you want to make it reality, you gotta make time. I know I'm talking to the people who are actual game developers, amateur or professional, but we all know how difficult it is sometimes to make time. Now, making time is easy. All you gotta do is create a schedule in place. But there are a few other components that I would like to show you how to make time. First and foremost, you gotta create a place. You gotta have a place to do your work. Whatever it is, at home I have a little cabinet with all of my game making tools. Like everything that I ever used is in there. I'm the only one who have access to it. Well, my son has access to it too, but that's inevitable. Next, you gotta schedule time. You gotta find time in your daily life when you can work. Try to make it during your best creative times. And again, there is an entire talk for me how to find a schedule, because every single one of you have a different rhythm. We all work at a different time. If it's a midnight, maybe this is your working time. If it's 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe it is yours. And next thing goes back to your stakeholders. It's an agreement. In project management world, we have a term for it. It's called project charter. It's an actual document that you need to sign, that people with an idea give project manager a right to work on a project. In our case, we have families, we have friends, we have bosses. They need to understand, you gotta do this. You gotta get this idea from the idea stage into reality. You need things from us, and they need things from us as well. You need to get an agreement, making sure that they understand that, yes, can I have 1 hour a week on Thursday afternoon that I can work on it? Do not disturb me. Does it happen? Maybe. Maybe it's a time when your family does the garbage in your family, and like they need you for that hour to do the garbage. So get an agreement, figure it out something. Put it in writing if you have to, but at least have an agreement. I have a very supportive family, so if I'm working on something, if it's completely out of the blue, they just leave me alone. So having those 3 components where you create your place, you have your time, and you have an agreement and supportive structure, maybe there is somebody who will give you a phone call or text and say, hey, get your butt in gear and start working on the game that you wanted to. Hopefully you will create a routine, because routine is very important. For project managers, it's a schedule, it's my work. I need to do things from morning to the evening on those projects. For people who do it as amateurs, we need to get routine going. And stakeholders, yes, this is one of the most overlooked components, but it's incredibly important. They gave you permission to work on a project. Your family gave you permission. Your kids said, yes, Dad, you know what? I'm gonna leave you alone for an hour, but after that, you're playing board games with me. Perfect. They are your biggest helpers, and you are not alone. Please rely on the stakeholders and identify them. Right? Understand their needs. When you came up with the idea and you think of people who are gonna play it, first, yourself. It's your idea. Understand the needs that you want from this game, the wants that you have with this game, what you like, what you dislike. Really, really, really understand it. And talk to the people who want to play this game, have that understanding. Even the boss who has to give you time off to come to this conference today, they have their needs and wants. Maybe, you know what, they give you this time off, but you have to work on a weekend next weekend. So they are stakeholders too. Don't forget, as much as you don't want to include the boss in your, after work life, sometimes it gets impacted. Now, we have the internal, external, right? Boss, what kind of stakeholder it is? Come on.
External.
Perfect, external. You yourself, what kind of stakeholder it is?
Internal.
Perfect. Person who does artwork.
Internal.
Exactly. Internal, because they are working for that project. You are managing them. They have impact. External people, they can impact your project, but they do not do direct work on it. So your players, they're externals. Even your play testers are externals. Your local game store is external stakeholder because, hey, maybe they will give you room to play test your game. Now, we need to go through the needs assessments. How do you do it? You need to figure out what they want. You need to figure out their needs, because wants and needs are different, right? Like, wants is like, well, you know what, I really wouldn't mind if this game had 120 pieces in it. Needs, I need this game to be sold in my store, right? That would be a need. You need to go through their likes, come on, their dislikes, their feelings. When you design a game, you need to understand how yourself you want to feel when you design a game. Because people remember feelings. They will always remember what you make them feel like. They may not remember what the hell did you do. You may be the nicest person at the worst time, and they will hate you for their life. Same happens with the game. It could be the best game, but if it makes people feel bad about themselves, it's the worst game on the market for them. And of course, a wish list. Now, what do you do with all of this? This is your first nugget. You write it down. You date it, you label it, you file it. Make sure that it's accessible and everybody who needs to understand it. Okay, I can tell you, like, you need to collect this information. It's rather difficult. How do you get to that point of getting the actual needs, those ultimate desires? So I'm not sure how many of you people watched the show Lucifer, I think, when he asked the questions, what do you really want? And people just spill their guts. That's what you gotta do. And there is a tool for it. It's called 5 Questions Why. I have done research in neuroscience and human behavior at university. Loved working on rats, hated working with humans. There is nothing worse than a human subject for one simple reason: they are trying to be helpful. Nothing worse than a helpful human, because they will try to give you an answer that they think you want. They are not going to give you the answer that is actually how they feel or what is true. They want you to feel better. So when you ask them, what do you think about mechanics, throwing dice to make a move? Oh, it's wonderful, I love it. You bring out the game and nobody plays it because everybody hates that mechanic, but nobody ever told you about this. So when you ask people why, you gotta ask 5 questions why. Okay, who wants to be a guinea pig? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, what's your favorite mechanic?
Oh, I wasn't prepared to answer anything. Worker placement.
Why is it your favorite mechanic?
Because it's a series of small but still interesting decisions.
So why do you like those small decisions?
Because it's sort of a pattern. You make the same thing repeatedly, the same choice repeatedly, or you have the same basic question, but the circumstances differ by a little bit each time.
And why is it important for you to have that little pattern?
That gives a kind of a through line to the game and a sense of momentum.
And why is momentum important for you?
Because a game should tell a story. It needs a narrative arc.
Here you go, right? You ask those questions, and thank you very much. Sorry for putting you on the spot. But this is what's important. Sorry, what's your name? Sam. So this is what's important for Sam. Storytelling. The game should tell a story. And this is what you're putting down when you classify, after you do those 5 questions why. What's important after all those 5 questions? Storytelling. Make sure that your game, when you sell it to them, make sure that the game tells you a story. Now, you got the requirements. You understand the need of everything that needs to be done and everything that needs to be included in the game. You wrote it all down, all the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, how do you get from all this mess into something actionable that in the end will give you the product? In our world, we say it's a scope. It's a scope of work that needs to get done. It's where you go from idea into something tangible, something actionable, and something that you can actually do. And again, project management actually has very detailed way how you do it. You have those needs, you have those wants, you need to develop the requirements. You need to sort them, you need to classify them, and you need to distill that information. Wonderful if you labeled everything. Guess what? Sorting? Psh, no problem. Everything in this label goes in one pile, other label goes in another pile. You didn't? Well, good luck reading. Good luck going back to notes and trying to remember, what the hell did I just think about that? Why did I write it down? Then you classify it again, kind of look a bit deeper. This is a bit of an artwork. And this is very subjective and specific to the game. And in the end, you kind of ask those 5 questions, why for every single thing, and that's when you get the requirements. So my requirement for the game would be, make sure that the game has a storyline. That would be my requirement. That's the last end of distilling. So out of all of those questions, right, the momentum driven, all the small steps, character placement, this is all boils down to, you have to tell a story. You have your requirements. Now, this is actually a fun part. You get to go shopping, kind of. You get to figure out how the game will look in the end. You have those requirements. This is when you select your quality. So do you want to have meeples or do you have well-detailed figurines? Do you want people to have thin paper cards or do you want to really use like that nice, expensive, linen type card that will withstand the time and use? This is when you really need to do it. And GamesCrafter, I'm putting a spiel for them there, has fantastic tools, right? The selection of items, the game components, is incredible. And you can order just one single piece of each if you wanted to, and you can feel it in your hands, and you can say, okay, what kind of feeling is it? Does it make me happy when I pick up this piece? Or does it make me dread even to touch it? When I look at the cards, do the colors pop, right? Like all of those things, feeling. This is when the feeling and the enjoyment of the game comes to play. This is where your quality comes in. Once again, every single game is unique. Based on those requirements, you gotta work for the quality. So for you, for storytelling, right? The quality of a story, is it engaging story, right? How well I can wrap you in, how I can show the story in the game. Now, you know the quality, you know the requirements, and here is a more scientific and prescriptive way. You need to develop the tasks. And what are the tasks? Those are small actionable items that can be done. This is basically the project management right there. This is your planning. You plan the entire production of the game right here. And again, there is a way how to develop those tasks. So you have your task. The task answers a question. What you're gonna do it, who is gonna do it, and when you're gonna do it. So in here it has to be precise, accountable, and orderly. Now, what makes the precise answers what you're gonna do it? What makes it precise? It's like setting an achievable goal. Same thing. It has to be actionable. It has to be measurable, and it has to be achievable. Don't tell somebody that you're gonna produce golden cards. Unless you're multimillionaire, will have troubles believing it. It has to be actionable. So don't make too vague and don't make it specific. It's like the difference between Python and C++, if people know what I'm talking about. Where you can tell somebody, just go and make a sandwich, or you literally have to tell somebody, you have to lift up your arm 30 degrees, extend it. It's too much. Find a balance, but make it manageable. For example, card development. You can say, make a card or design a card. What kind of components are in the cards? You can have your flavor text, your description, the border, the illustration, the feel, the materials. All of those things, you can break them down like the card development into smaller little tasks. And again, this is where the project manager comes in and can break it down. So if you're having troubles, talk to your friends or find a project manager who will help you out. Measurable. Measurable is easy. At the end of every single task, there has to be what we call a deliverable. Whatever it is, it's a product, it's an illustration, it's a mechanic that has been ironed out and has to be achievable. The person who has to do it can do it. So your 3-year-old kid may not be the best person to develop a flavor text for your card. Great at illustration, flavor text, not quite there yet. Now, next thing, it has to be accountable, and this is where you need to figure out who is doing what. Again, take your kid, may not be perfect, but the English major, hey, that's a person who can develop a nice flavor text if you wanted to. And then your tasks have to be orderly. And this is like a plain jigsaw. So you look at everything, you look at the relationships and think, okay, so what is the logical sequence of events that I need to push those tasks in order? See which task can be done simultaneously. So maybe, working out the game mechanics or finishing up working game mechanics and having an illustration can be done at the same time. Putting that information in the manufacturing, those two things have to be completed first because you can produce final item. So those things are kind of fun. You can do it on a sticky notes if you want. Actually works wonderfully on a sticky notes. Write every task down and then find yourself a wall and just slap them on. There is also a lot of project management software, but I'm not going into there. I'm trying to teach you guys the basics of it so that you can do it without assistance of anything else. Who is doing what? Yourself? How many of those tasks can you finish yourself? How many of those tasks can your friends help you out with? When you need to hire an expert? This is a decision I will leave up to you because you're the ones who have an idea, you're the ones who have control of it. As a project manager, I would hire people out, I would find people who can do it because I know that I know nothing. I should not know anything as a project manager. I need to know how to run a project. Do I need to know how to design a game? No. Do I need to know how to make an illustration? No. Do I need to know the people who can do it? Yes. Do I get to go shopping to find those people? I do, and it's not fun. Now, you have your tasks. And every single one of that, one thing that I forgot to mention, every single action in your task have to go back to a requirement. If you're doing something that doesn't lead back to your task and task goes to requirement, why are you doing that? It's not there. It's not helping you achieve anything on a game. And this entire diagram is a representation of what we call work breakdown structure. It gives you different levels. So you have your general name of the tasks, then you kind of have smaller components and smaller components. You can go as deep as you want or as deep as you need to and break them down into smaller bite-sized chunks. It's like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, no matter how big an elephant is. Sometimes you have your friends over for a barbecue just to speed up the process. Now, you figure out who is doing it. This is a decision, right? Do you need to hire freelancers? Tune in later this afternoon for a talk about that, not by me, but you'll definitely enjoy it. You can do a schedule. You need to find, do you have a time to do all of this? The other people have a time to do all of this. And how the hell do you create a schedule? Because saying that, oh, I'm just going to create a schedule, there is a bit of a, things that you need to do it. You can use schedule. Some people use lists. Some people use calendars. You gonna go all fancy and do project management style, use Gantt chart right there. I'm going to show it to you right here. This fancy thing shows you all the relationships. Once again, all of those things, I can give a separate talk just about schedule and how to create it and the tools. I'm just giving you an overview. If you have a question, what is the hell is Gantt chart? Come talk to me, I'll explain it. It's a fantastic tool. It's incredibly visual. It tells you who is going to do what, when it's going to be done, and what's the relationship. And if something changes, you click a button, and entire schedule adjusts. Beautiful. You don't have to worry about stickers and put those stickers back in the calendar or adjust your calendar. But how do you develop a schedule? The first thing you do, ask the doer. You know who is going to do the task. Ask yourself, well, how long will it take me to come up with an illustration? Are you good at it? Is it going to take you months? Is it going to take you a year? If you have an expert, you hired somebody, come up to them saying, hey, so I need you to do 30 illustration. How long will it take you to complete this work? How many revisions you're going to have in that work? And when can I expect final results? As an expert, they should be able to give that number. You put that number in a schedule. Do not try to guess. If you're not doing the work, don't guess. Ask the people who are actually doing the work. Ask a professional who have done this work previously. If you don't have a person hired yet, but you're expecting it and just kind of figuring things out, ask somebody who have done it previously. Ask 3 people. Come up with a number that those professionals will say it's reasonable. Do your research. We work in a wonderful age right now where everything is available at our fingertips. Google, how long does it take to make an illustration for a card? How long does it take to produce 1,000 copies of a board game? Figure it out. Use your best judgment. You need to know some of the things. You need to know the lead time. Lead time is how much time you need to give somebody in advance to get the product. This time, no work is going to get done. You're going to be waiting for it. But how much notice do you need to give them? You need to know what the lag time is. Lag time, in our case, it's mostly shipping. The work is done. It's coming in from China. It's going to take you 2 months before you get the final product. This is your lag time. No work is getting done. Nobody's working. You're not working. You're just waiting. That's your lag time. Doesn't mean that other tasks cannot go ahead at the same time. But when you're building a schedule, this is an important one to take into account. Understand the relationships. Understand what can be done at the same time and what can be done sequentially. That's such a hard word to say sometimes, especially in the afternoon after lunch. And the last time, you got all of those numbers. Now, do you want to promise your store or whoever your distributor is that, hey, I'm going to give the game to you in 2 months because I've got all those numbers? I highly recommend not to unless you're 100% sure. If you're 99% sure, don't do this. If you're 100% sure, give that date number. Otherwise, add the contingency. Ask an expert. How late did you receive the order from that person? How late did you get the illustration? Ask those questions or do what I do when the projects I have no clue what I'm doing about. Multiply it by 2. Simple enough, gives you some sort of number to work with, and at least it gives you contingency and error room to work in. And by the way, I don't just multiply by 2. There is an entire thing how you do it. I'm just simplifying it for this session. And we come to probably the hardest and the most difficult thing for a lot of people is cost. Oh my goodness. Cost depends on who is doing things. But guess what? You already figured it out. Are you doing it yourself and it costs you $0 and 20 hours of your lifetime? Or you paying somebody else it costs you $50 and 0 hours of your lifetime. But you have the cost down. Wonderful. You understand all the tasks, so you can assign those costs to every single task. Because again, you know who is doing what. And then you assign that cost. But costs, again, depend on the things. They depend who is doing it. And again, at this point of time, if it costs too much, is it easier for you to find somebody else and take additional risks or jeopardize quality? Can you do it yourself? This is where playing with the costs will start playing with your schedule. Again, your quality. Do you want to do really detailed resin printed miniatures in a game? Or are you okay with meeple? How much money do I have in the bank? Your risk. Are you going with very reputable manufacturer? Or are you going with somebody who is kind of appeared on Alibaba and you say, hey, you know what? I can get everything that I want for $2. Do you trust it? This is the risk that you need to come up with. But be flexible. This is, unfortunately, cost is one of those balancing items that's always in the air that you need to, we all bound by it, unless we won the lottery and we really don't care. Now, cost is, again, Games Crafter is great for it. They have a variety of costs that you can base it on, from single components to bulk orders. Go there, figure out. Do your research. Again, we have internet at our fingertips. Go through manufacturers, go on the forums, ask people who are they using, how much does it cost. Some people won't share that information with you. Ask 5 questions why. Figure out what ticks them and why don't want to share this information. And hey, maybe you can use this as an in and actually get this. But yeah, Games Crafter, perfect place to start. Risks, oof, that's a doozy. We actually have risk professionals. Those are the people who do nothing but assess your risk and tell you what to do with it and how much it's going to cost. As a project manager, I can do some of it. Heck, I've done it for 15 years. I can do some of it. But if I can't, I have a guy. Because having a guy is my job. Risks. There are 2 types of risks. Sorry, let me go back. Opportunities and threats. Show me a threat of the risk. Okay, give me an example. I know it's after lunch.
A pandemic occurs.
Pandemic occurs. It's a fantastic threat. You need to find a way how to deal with it. What's an opportunity? Anybody knows what's a positive risk to your project? Go for it. Perfect. It's a wonderful risk to have. You have more people who want to buy your game. Do you have the product to sell? And that's where you start to mention. It's actually, no matter how niche do you think your game is, that's a great risk to have when you assess your manufacturing capacity. Can you meet more demand than you think you can? And if you can't, how do you message that to people? What is your lag time to producing enough for that demand? The way how we deal with risks, and these are just very quick examples. First thing, you avoid it. It's like, you know what? No, not touching it. I am not dealing in anything that requires custom manufacturing. Like printed minis, no, not touching it. I'm going with the stickers. Just because The quality is hard to enforce, and there is a lot of things they have to worry about. Then you can transfer it. Say, you know what? I can't deal with procurement. I don't want to deal with distribution. I don't want to deal with manufacturers. Can I transfer my risk to the game developer? Can you sell your game to a developer for a cost? It means that you'll only get percentage of the sales and not 100%. But hey, you're not dealing with all those risks that take into account game production. Then you can mitigate. These are the steps that you take to minimize the risks. Because it's very rare that you can eliminate all the risks, but you can mitigate it and minimize it. So for example, let's say pandemic hit. How do you do to mitigate that risk? Well, maybe you should try to produce as much local as possible. You have over demand of your product. How do you mitigate it? Should I overproduce, which it comes at a cost? Should I develop the communication strategy, which doesn't have a cost, but may end up in some frustrated customers, but not 100% of frustrated customers, right? So there are ways to mitigate it. And again, there are professionals that help you out, or a nice glass of beverage of your choice and go wild one night with the friends and just explore every single possibility. And the last one, you just accept it. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to accept whatever comes my way. This comes only for the risks that have very small chance of occurring, and the costs of dealing with them are just too much, right? So you can't mitigate it. It might come, it might not. Are we going to get another pandemic? Are we going to budget for it? Maybe right now it's a good time because heck, we already had one and it's still fresh in our memories. In 30 years, people might forget about it. So, oh yeah, we had pandemic 30 years ago. Do we need to worry about? Nah, it's going to be okay. We'll deal with it when it comes. That's an acceptance. Opportunities, believe it or not, no matter how good of opportunity you have, it's a risk to your project. And there are ways to deal with it too. First thing what you do is enhance. So if there is a chance of, getting this opportunity, that's what you're doing. Like right now it's 50% of me, getting better sales. I want to make it 75%. What are the steps I need to make and how much it's going to cost me in time and money and maybe quality to make sure that my sales are going to be 75% of what I anticipate. You share. Again, you hire the manufacturer, you hire the game developer manufacturer for you. What it means, yeah, you share the costs. But guess what? You are not dealing with the risks either. Next one is exploited. Oh yeah, it's happening. Opportunity is just knocking on my door. It's blowing the door off my hinges. Yeah, give it to me. How do I minimize the risks that with that opportunity? How do I make sure that it's not going to railroad my project? For example, right? Somebody comes in and say, you know what? You have a great game. I'm going to give you $100,000 if we are making slight changes in the rules. Or you put in my name in it, whatever it is. But the name is has some feeling to the game that might change it. You're getting $100,000 in your pocket. Your game is going to be out there. But how do you make sure that the risks are exploited well? And of course, accept it. Hey, it's happening. Let's ride the wave. I didn't see it coming. Yeah, it's good. Again, low chance of occurring, kind of hard to plan, or it costs too much money, or it's like so out of the way. But hey, if it happens, it happens. Now, risk is really, really scary. Not everybody can do it. You can contact me, I can help you out, and if I can't, I know the guy. Ken is a great risk professional. Now, you went through the risks. You finished the bottle of whatever your favorite beverage is. you're thinking that everything's going to fall down. You went to the schedule. Now with risk, everything changes. Who is going to do what? I don't know anymore. Leave it for a little bit. Come back to it, review it. Once again, review your quality. To make it happen, what needs to get done? Review your costs. Figure out who is doing what. Review your schedule. Does the schedule is okay? Do I need to, extend it just to be safe? Are there things that I can shorten because you know what? I assessed my risk. I can make sure that this particular person is going to be doing my illustrations if I just pay a little bit more. So, time shortens out. Hey, look at that. I'm meeting an interesting deadline. Maybe now I can go to a different distributor who needs me to meet the deadline. And EPA, I am in 100 stores instead of 1. And then you have your plan. This is where you follow through. You follow the steps of all the tasks that you have outlined in your schedule. You trust the process. You adjust as it goes. You review your risks. We all live in an imperfect world where things happen. Be flexible, adjust, enjoy it. And this is my last knowledge nugget. Be kind to yourself. We are not professionals, at least I don't think. Maybe some people here are professional game developers. I know I'm a professional project manager. I'm not sure if other people are. But honestly, we're doing this for fun. We're doing this because we enjoy it. Because this is something that's in our blood and we want to put ideas into reality. Have fun with it. Enjoy the process. Ask questions of your peers. Find professionals. Go to conferences. Go online. Just enjoy the process and don't worry, don't sweat the small stuff, basically. And this is it. I'm here if you have any questions about project management. Once again, it's a quick overview. You don't need any software to do what I showed you today. There is plenty of different softwares available, free, and the one that you buy. I'm not going into this today because you don't need it. Honestly, you want to save yourself some money, get yourself a pen and paper and a box of sticky notes. You can do project management with that. Get yourself a good team. Good team costs a round of drinks at the bar. Sometimes that's all it needed. But hey, you have a nice support. Playtesters may not cost anything, may cost you a little bit. But the team is what keeps us accountable as well, unless you're incredibly self-driven individual and a type of personality who is just going to, steamroll through it. So yeah, any questions? Holy cow. Was it this boring?
I'll share one thing. The use of the Gantt chart showed me that you can have multiple people working on things that aren't independent, and so they can all kind of race towards one finish line. So you've got 3 or 4 things going on at the same time. It's so elegant and beautiful to see that on paper, to say, wow, person A, B, C, and D, they're all working on different stuff. It's all going to be done on Tuesday. Yay. That's really good.
Perfect. So just to reiterate for our recording, use of Gantt chart. It's an elegant tool that allows you to see the work that's getting done. You know exactly when the work is going to get done if everything goes to plan. You know those 3 tasks, 3 different people will finish on Tuesday, and you can see it. And the funny part, if they don't, you can see it, you can adjust it, and you can work with it. It is an elegant tool. It requires some skill to work with it, but I'm pretty sure everybody here is perfectly capable of mastering it. It's not that complicated. You can put it in Excel or Google spreadsheets. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.